another episode of Going All In, Get the Edge You Need to Succeed. I am Dr. Erin McKinley, and today we have another awesome spotlight session with Robin Schenk and Mindy Scott from the Lagniappe Wellness Distance Dietetic Internship. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, before we jump into a presentation about your program, Robin and Mindy, tell us a little bit about yourselves, your journey to becoming dietitians, and how you came to create this internship.
Okay. Well, I am an old school dietitian back before the N got added on to the RDN. And I actually started teaching before I started practicing as an RD. I got my RD from the University of Southern Mississippi. And I got my master's degree from St. Bonaventure University in New York State after I moved up here after I got married. And I've always taught and or worked clinically. So I taught when my babies were home, and then I went to doing both for about 20 years till the kids were all grown. And then I accepted an opportunity to teach full time and leave clinical. I had been working as a nutrition support dietitian in the ICU, and I've been teaching in higher ed for dietetics programs for about 25 years. And I've been a program director for Dietetic Internship for about 5.
Okay, and I'm Mindy, and I did my bachelor's at the University of Cincinnati, and then I took a little time off after that, moved to Colorado, and I decided to pursue a distance program. So I've actually been through a distance program, and that's something that I really enjoy doing as assistant program director for Lagniappe Wellness, is sort of mentoring our current interns and applicants on going through this whole process. So I really try to be a great mentor for that. My other experience as a registered dietitian is in long-term care, and I also do virtual nutrition coaching and nutrition coaching in holistic health wellness. So that's a little bit about my journey so far.
All right, well, tell us all about your program.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Lagniappe Wellness Dietetic Internship. We like to say we're not your average dietetic internship because we try to think outside the box and do a lot of interactive things so that the program doesn't feel like a distance program. Lagniappe means a little something extra. And we get a lot of intern applicants who aren't sure how to pronounce that word, but I know that all of you LSU students will know how to say lagniappe because it's a Southern word. And on our website, we talk about how Mark Twain liked to use the word after he discovered it on one of his trips down to the coast. So, distance program, we work with individual interns to tailor their experience. So, a lot of interns come to us not really knowing what a distance program is all about, or we get second round applicants who had not even thought about a distance program. And we love second round applicants, by the way. We love feeling like we give interns a second chance. But we work with them, each one individually, to make sure that the experiences that they're able to come up with when choosing their rotation sites works for each of them. Our emphasis is on obesity and diabetes prevention and treatment. We are partnered with the National Diabetes and Obesity Research Institute in Biloxi, Mississippi. They are an organization that is working on doing research for prevention and treatment of diabetes. They see patients on their campus in Biloxi, and they do all kinds of other outside of the box things also. They have shared medical appointments where a client will come in and see the doctor and the nurse practitioner, the dietitian. They do virtual appointments for groups. So there's an opportunity for our interns to get involved in doing virtual counseling with diabetic and obese patients through the virtual work that they do at Indori. Our program is a full-time, 1,000 hours, and that can be completed in about 7 months. And as everyone knows by now, Ascend is has reduced the number of hours from 1,200 to 1,000. So that helps us to add some flexibility with the schedulings in case interns need to go longer than 7 months or 7 months that it's come down to. They still have the ability to go for 9 months, which would have been had they were still doing the 1,200 hours. So we do also allow for flexibility in scheduling for interns to have time off for religious holidays and time with their families, time to have babies. I've had a couple of those. So do have flexibility in that regard. We do pre-orientation, preparation, and an interactive virtual orientation that does not require that the interns travel to the program. We feel like we were sort of ahead of the curve on all of the COVID switch over when everything went virtual, because everything that we did was already virtual. So our orientation that follows the pre-orientation work is as a group, and Hourig can attest to the fact that we get all those smiling faces together on a screen, and it doesn't really feel like, we're in a Zoom meeting. At least that's how I feel about that. Mindy teaches a weekly virtual class that again allows the interns to interact with each other and get some exposure to both of us. And Mindy and I both also do virtual office hours, Tuesdays and Thursdays, one morning, one afternoon, and then I do Saturday morning availability in case interns need access to me while they're outside of their rotation time. We know that there's a lot of work that comes with internships, and so we try to be available to help out with the things that they need assistance with during the times when they're not in their clinical sites. Hourig is with us today, and she's going to be introduced by Mindy.
Yes, so we're super excited to have Hourig on today. She's one of our current interns, and she'll talk a little bit. I'm going to ask her some questions about her experience so far as an LWDI intern. We love having her as an intern because she's very creative, and we really value how much pride she takes in her work. So we wanted to feature her today as our guest intern. So Hourig, what are your favorite parts of being an LWDI intern?
Hello. My favorite parts have been the weekly classes. Everything so far has been so nice to make sure that we're all going to pass the RD exam. That was something that I was worried about pre-internship, was how am I going to get ready for the RD exam. So the classes have been so great. And the pre-orientation and orientation work as well. We've done case studies on different diseases so far, like CVD and diabetes, all great things. As well as it's nice to have like the connection as well, like being in a distance program. It's not like you can kind of hang out with your fellow interns. So we've all had like a separate like group conversations where we can all text each other and help each other out when things are needed. So that's been my favorite part so far.
Awesome. Thanks, Hourig. So how have we been supportive to you?
Oh my gosh. And I'm not saying this for the Zoom or anything, but you guys have been so great. I couldn't ask for better directors. You guys are always there to, answer questions. You guys are either an email or text away. It's nice to have you like such supportive directors that you guys want us to succeed, and it's great to see. So nothing but the best.
Awesome, thanks. And why did you choose us as your internship?
As Robin said, I was a second round applicant, so I was kind of a little sad that I didn't get in, first round. And then I saw Robin's email, you guys' email saying that you guys are accepting applicants. And so I looked at the website and it looked great. The diabetes and obesity objective was really interesting. So I was like, okay, let's do it. So I hopped on it. I emailed Robin and we got along great and I got in. So I'm really happy about that. So, and so far so good.
Great. Thank you so much. We're so glad that you chose us. It's been awesome having you. So what have you been doing in your rotations that is outside of the box?
So like you said, Mindy, I've been having fun doing creative projects. I've been in 3 rotations so far, and it's surprising because all 3 of them I've gotten to do like creative things. For my first one, I was able to take food photography and create recipes for a PCOS dietitian who shares gluten and dairy-free recipes with her followers. And that was great because I love photography. So it was great to get that skill. In my second rotation, I was updating flyers and educational materials, some things that haven't been updated for like 10 years. I was able to make it look fresh and new. So clients and patients would like read into it and be excited to learn about nutrition. And then in my recent rotation, it's with a school district. And I've been able to do a promotional flyer for their new items that they're having in their cafeteria. So just something that like when kids enter the school, they can see that and be enticed to go and try their new food item. So it's been really fun to just be creative and use my skills in that way.
Yeah, I would say that is definitely something extra about you that you've just really been able to shine at your rotations with doing all of those projects. And I've definitely noticed that doing those projects and the food photography has been inspiring to you with growing as a professional. So that's just been really fun to see as a assistant director for our program, and just watching that be so much fun for you while you're interning. So really, really glad that you're having such great experiences so far. Are there any other things that you love about being an LWDI intern?
Just being here with you guys and, making the most out of it, really. It's especially in this COVID, it's so crazy to everything going on. So just the flexibility and the reassurance that, everything's going to be okay and we're all going to pass and be great RDs. It's a great feeling. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so, so much for answering those questions and being on today. Those are all of my questions for you. So really appreciate that, Hourig.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk now some more about what is Lagniappe about us. So all other programs obviously provide supervised practice experience, but we really like to take a deeper dive and immerse our interns into the dietetics world and our emphasis in a few different, more fun and creative ways. This one's definitely my favorite thing is our discussion board. So basically every month I assign a podcast to our interns and we all listen to it. And it's usually something interesting, timely, and out of the box. And then we carry on a month-long conversation about it with each other on the discussion board. So they're all things that have to do with diabetes and or obesity. A couple of the topics so far have been health at every size and intuitive eating for diabetes. And then we also just recently did one on conventional approaches versus low carb and ketogenic approaches to diabetes management. So they're just things that maybe you didn't get to dive very deep into in undergrad, or maybe something you maybe have never even heard of. I'm just trying to get the interns thinking outside of the box and learning more, because the dietetics world is just constantly changing. So we have so much fun with that, or at least I do. I love reading the posts and sort of engaging with the interns on the discussion board as well. And then we have Food for Thought, which is our Lagniappe Wellness Dietetic Intern blog. So I personally do a little bit of food blogging. And then we decided, well, how fun would it be to have a blog for our students as well? So the interns basically get to select their own topic that relates to obesity or diabetes, and then write an interesting and informative blog post about it. So you can see one that we featured here on our social media, and they're also featured on our website. And then we have our content expert, Debbie. She's from Endori, and she'll review and edit each or suggest edits for each blog before we post it, and then sort of give her input on things before publication. We'll also feature interns on there in their little bios, and describe, how they bring something extra to the dietetics world. Also sharing photos and chronicles of intern experiences so far in their rotations. So, we love Food for Thought. We're having a lot of fun with it. And you can check that out, like I said, on our website or on our Instagram or Facebook page. We add our posts to there as well. So, okay. And then Hourig talked about this a little bit already, but this is our weekly Kahoot challenge. So every week we have our RD exam review course. And we just try to make this a little bit more fun and engaging by using Kahoot for a friendly competition challenge between the interns. So basically we do practice RD exam review questions, and we have different teams, and the interns are then sort of encouraged to study on their own time and compete for getting the questions right. And we'll have prizes at the end of each domain for the teams that scored the highest. So this is really fun. And I love this too, because when we're all together as a class every week, it really does feel more like a class, and not that we're all spread out across the country. We've had some good times in our classes. A few little inside jokes are starting to come up. So it's been just a really, really good time, and just the friendly competition is fun too.
Okay, so a little bit more of our Lagniappe. The last thing that we plan to kind of highlight about our program is, all of the interns are here to become RDs. And while the experiences that they get out in the field is important, it's also important that they pass the exam. So, that's kind of why they're all there. So we do expose them to exam questions a lot. They take a practice diagnostic exam at orientation to sort of see what their baseline is, where they are and where they need to go. We ask them to come up with a study plan and a schedule after they do a self-assessment on their level of preparation at orientation. And then during the program, when Mindy's teaching each Wednesday, she goes domain by domain. We have a nice book that we use, Review of Dietetics. And at the end of each domain, there's a content exam. We ask the students to get an 80% on that, or else retake it. And so we're really happy with the scores that are coming in already from the domain content exams. The questions are the same types of questions that are on the RD exam, and we give a similar number of minutes per question as is on the RD exam. So just getting them practiced at taking the questions fast and furiously, just like on the RD exam, we feel like helps prepare them. And then after all 4 of those domain exams, there's a practice RD exam again at the end. And we asked the interns to get a 75% on that. We have 3 different exams that we created for the interns to take. And they can keep taking that until they get the score that they want. And we also have these exams and this preparation available to the interns after they're done with the internship, so that if they need to continue practicing, continue being exposed to the time limits established for the RD exam, they can continue to reach out to us to make sure that they're getting to the prize, which is passing the RD exam. So how do you get into Lagniappe Wellness Dietetic Internship? Our admission criteria is very similar to other programs. The intern applicant must have a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution. There must be a verification statement from a DPD program, or at the time of application, a declaration of intent, followed by the verification statement once they're done. And then we like a GPA of 3.0, but we know that that's not the be-all, end-all to what makes a good dietitian. Academic skills are important, and they are tied to success on the RD exam, and we know that. But we also love interns with strong interpersonal skills. We feel like that is equally important. It kind of reminds me of when my kids were little. I always liked their friends who would come into the kitchen and talk to me and look me in the eye, rather than the ones who just wanted to go, hide in another room and play. When someone can talk to you face to face and have a good, solid, meaningful conversation where they're really listening to you and responding to what you're saying, we think that's an important skill for registered dietitians, and we put a lot of favor on that. So when an intern applicant comes to us and they've had good experience working with and I don't just mean as a diet aide or working as a dietary clerk, but waitressing, cashiering in a grocery store, any kind of work with the public that requires that you have patience, that you smile through the frustration, all of those things we think are important for good, solid dietitians. We require that the interns go through DICAS for the first round, and D&D Digital, and then completing the supplemental application, which is on our website. And the supplemental application also includes forms that the interns can complete, which includes proposed rotation schedules. If they have that, we like applicants to come with a full rotation schedule set up. That's not always the reality, especially in the face of COVID. So we're flexible in that regard. But for the rotations that they do have established, we do need preceptor agreement forms, and we will need affiliation agreements. And all of those documents are available on our website. We have a tab called the Preceptor Resources that has everything that a preceptor could ever possibly want. All of our syllabi, all of the intern evaluations, information about getting CEUs for precepting, interesting articles about precepting. So we ask the interns to refer any of their potential preceptors right to our webpage, so that they can see the resources that are there. And we also have a contact form on the Preceptor Resource page so that the preceptors can reach out directly to us. We are just a click away in the planning phases of an intern's rotation, but also during the rotation. So preceptors can just go right to our website and shoot us a question if they have it. During the application process, we encourage applicants to stay in touch with us. We're a small program, so we're able to just really be in close contact with them throughout the entire process. So I welcome interns to email or call us. I've had many intern applicants text me with a question about the program. So we really, both of us are very accessible for applicants to reach out. Ahead of myself there. So For the Preceptor Resources, I talked about that a little bit, and I do this when I teach too. I jump ahead on my slides. I think I said everything that I needed to say about that. So for the COVID response, like other programs, we've had to modify a lot of the things that we are doing, the things that we are planning. As I mentioned before, we were already a distance program, so a lot of our resources and activities were already virtual. Having said that, though, with many thanks to the Academy and Ascend, there's really good resources available. There's a very comprehensive resource library available to all programs, and we have really developed a nice comprehensive set of activities and assignments that the interns can do to try to get to fill those gaps where they're not able to be out in the field because of COVID. Many interns got turned away mid-rotation. We saw that in the spring, and we're seeing that with interns who are trying to get sites also. So because of that, we make the platform EHR Go available to all interns in the program. It's a really in-depth clinical and skills learning platform that allows the interns to have simulated experiences within the medical record and interacting virtually with practitioners from other areas such as speech language and physical therapy, pharmacy. And every intern, whether they have an MNT rotation secured or not, has a subscription to EHR Go with us. We also have an in-depth nutrition-focused physical exam module that the interns do during orientation. We get them exposed right away at the beginning of the program with videotaping themselves. So we had a lot of fun watching the interns do nutrition-focused physical exams on their children, their mothers, their boyfriends, their husbands. And kudos to all of those people who have been really good sports to let our interns work on them. This is a snapshot of our interns in our snazzy hats and aprons that we have available to all of the interns in the program. And with that, I wanted to just open it up to any questions that there may be.
All right. Thank you so much for that very thorough overview. I feel like you might have peeked at some of my backup questions and prepared some slides, which I love that. So I'm going to go ahead and do my 5 questions that I ask all the directors that come on the podcast. So these were put together with the help of my students. I kind of polled them to see what they really wanted to know from directors and what they're looking for in their applicants. So the first question is, and this can be for Robin or Mindy and whoever wants to tackle it, if you'd like to both provide an answer, it's whatever you'd like to do. Is there a particular thing that you just love to see when you're reading a personal statement?
I talked about the good interpersonal skills and organized interns and with good communication skills, excuse me. I feel like those things all sort of tie together. And that really comes through on a good, well-written personal statement. We've seen many personal statements where they're just kind of all over the place. But when an intern is able to sort of organize their thoughts, tell their story, talk about the ways that they are able to have an impact on their world and the people around them, we just feel like that demonstrates that they're good communicators.
Yep. And then to add to that, we just love seeing sort of tying things into Lagniappe. How do you bring something extra, something that makes you stand out among all the other personal statements that we're reading? And then also, having an honest and authentic personal statement. So as Robin has talked about, GPA isn't everything, and maybe sometimes your GPA isn't quite where you want it. Well, why not? Let's talk about that and just kind of talk about your true background and why you want to be an RD, and just really authentic information there. So that's some more we like to see.
All All right, so the second question I have is a true or false question. And it's true or false, an applicant's resume should be one page and one page only. Either way, why?
I say false. They're putting a lot of work into this application process, and we're asking them to bring to us a complete picture. And I feel trying to restrict them to one page does an injustice to all of the things that make them a good applicant. So for myself, I like to see everything that they've done, and they, that kind of ties into with what we like to see in the personal statement too. It's bring it on. Let's see what you got. Let's see where you've been and where you are, who you are.
And I agree that it doesn't have to just be one page. So basically everything Robin just said, I'd rather see the whole picture than the condensed version.
All right, so my third question is, what is one thing that an applicant may do that might raise some red flags for you, or might be a deal breaker to where you would feel that that applicant is maybe not a good fit for the program?
Mm-hmm. Well, we know that the application process is very circuitous, but we've also put a lot of time and effort into having a lot of information available on our website. And so when I get communications from intern applicants asking questions that I know are answered on the webpage, or asking very basic general types of questions, I know that they have not done their homework. So a lack of preparation, depending on us to do the work for them, to me is a pet peeve.
Yes, and then also just playing into that attention to detail. We work hard to provide a lot of information on our website, and just seeing something that maybe they submitted something but they addressed their personal statement to another program, or little things like that would kind of stand out, like, oh, well, you must not be that serious about our program. Poor communication is another one. So we've talked about this a lot, how we really, really value communication. And if there's issues where someone's in the process of applying and there's difficulty with the communication, that usually raises a red flag for us, because we know in being a distance program how important communication is throughout the entire process. So that's a big one for us as well.
I like that. I've been definitely driving home with our students this idea of you need to be self-sufficient to be able to figure out the answers to the little questions. Because they do that to me too, and it gets on your nerves as a director when the information is definitely available somewhere and someone just is used to others doing the work for them. And I was telling our students that that's a sign of a bad intern. If day one you're not trying to figure things out on your own, you're just relying on your preceptor to do all the work for you. I was like, you're not going to last long if you even get there first. So I'm very honest with our students about that type of stuff.
Well, Mindy and I were just discussing this too, that it's important for interns to communicate what they need also, not just communicating to us where they are and what kinds of things are going on. But if you need help, let us know. If you are having trouble navigating the Google Learning platform, don't just back out. Let us know so that we can help you, succeed with that.
All right. So my fourth question, we know you're a newer program, but what is one thing that you're working on now to try to make even better for the interns?
Okay. We really are sort of developing how we are approaching our emphasis. So the work that we have the interns planning to do once they get to the end of their rotation and they're doing their focus on the obesity and diabetes prevention and treatment. Nutrition is science, and science is always changing. So trying to make sure that we stay on top of the way that treatment approaches and interventions evolve over time. Something that can be being done now for an obese patient might be vastly different than, how things are being done at the end of the internship. So just trying to really stay on top of all of that and make that as good of an experience as we've promised them it would be when we talked about our emphasis.
Yes, and some other areas too is the RD exam review class. So obviously we've talked about, we all know the end goal is to become a RD and pass that RD exam. So so far we're really happy with the results we've had on their content exams, but we just actively look to improve and build on these classes and just have more incentives to motivate the interns to study. And, we've already got big plans for our next class for the RD exam review class. So definitely working more on that.
All right. So my last question is a two-parter. And so the first part is, what are 3 adjectives or descriptors, phrases to describe your program overall?
I would say that we are very accessible for what the interns need. So, there's all of the things that all of the internships have to cover, but with a distance internship, it's so important to make sure that the interns know that they can get from you what they need. So I think being an accessible, non-distance kind of distance program, it's a given that all of the competencies will be attained and that the interns will be exposed to all of the patient populations and all of the demographics that have to be there. We really try to focus on, how we're sort of unique as a distance internship. So really just being available to kind of get that out to them.
Yes, and then another adjective is, we really try to be creative and out of the box, like we've sort of talked about already, is the different little things like the podcast discussion board and the blog posts, just getting the interns always thinking outside of the box and how will they develop their approach with patients, and just exposing them to different ideas out there, because like we've said, nutrition is always changing. And then our program is also, this would be our third adjective, very interactive. And I feel that we are more interactive than other distance programs in my experience of having been through one. So for instance, I've already talked about, our weekly class and how we're all together and we interact on the discussion board, but we really try to be interactive as well every step of the way in this whole process. So oftentimes I'll set up a Zoom session with the applicant and sort of walk them through the process of finding their rotation sites, and then, staying interactive with being, this kind of goes into accessible as well, but even in that application process, truly getting to know the person applying, and it gives them that chance to get to know us and make sure it's a good fit for them too. But then, just every step of the way being interactive with our class and, making it feel like it's not at a distance.
All right, so the second half of the question is very similar. It would be the 3 best adjectives or descriptors to describe your ideal applicant.
The ideal applicant to our program, and actually any distance program, I think, is that the intern has to be motivated, and not just, rah, go get them, but to be very deeply intrinsically motivated, because it takes a special type of intern that can have a good, successful experience with a distance internship. So being intrinsically motivated to stay organized and to be proactive, to be a good time manager, that's definitely a biggie for the ideal applicant. And as we mentioned, we are looking for interns who are going to bring something extra to the class and to the world of dietetics once they are done. So, circling back to that whole concept of Lagniappe, we aren't looking to produce run-of-the-mill dietitians. We're looking for applicants who are interested in being a little something extra.
Yes. And then the third adjective would be great communicator. So we've talked a lot about this today, but basically not only in communicating with others, but also communicating their own needs. We need to know if something's going on with you that might affect your interning hours, or if you're struggling with something. We want to be accessible. We want you to succeed. And if it seems like you're not doing well and we have no idea why, it can just be sort of challenging. So even if we're seeing you at every single office hour, we'd rather see you and talk to you and help you than have no idea what's going on. So definitely great communicator is so important.
All right. Well, we have a few questions in the chat. And the first is, how many interns are you planning to accept for the Onsite Track in the fall of 21?
We are accredited for 5 on-site and 25 distance.
Will there be any housing accommodations for those that choose the Onsite Track?
No, we don't. We haven't jumped into that.
Okay. Question. I see on the website that you have paired up with Southern Miss for their master's option. Is that operating like a lot of other programs where the students have to apply separately after they get into your internship, and then it's up to Southern Miss whether they want the student or not, or is there an agreement where there'll be like an automatic admittance?
We don't have a formal agreement yet. That actually is in the works as we start to approach 2024. But the way that we are 2 separate institutions, so they would apply to Southern Miss and get accepted there, and or they could apply to us and be accepted with us. The partnership comes in where interns can go through the internship with the coursework coinciding with the rotation. So for example, while they're in their medical nutrition therapy rotation, they would be taking courses related to that. Same thing with food service. So they start off taking some research and some overview type of classes in the summer. And then in the fall, when the internship starts, that's when the courses coincide with the rotations.
And then another question, since you probably are attracting a lot of applicants that have pretty good work experience, are you giving any credit for prior direct work experience in dietetics or nutrition?
We currently aren't doing that, but we are taking it under consideration. So we're considering it, but it's not in place right now.
Okay. And then one more from me. I know this past spring we had some LSU students that applied in second round, and there was an exam that you gave, I think all of them. Do you do that for all the students during second match, the content exam, to kind of see where they're at, or is that only if their GPA is iffy and we kind of want to see where, if the issue is in the content?
Mm-hmm. We want, because there is a connection between their science GPA and their DPD GPA and passing the RD exam, we do that so that we know and so that the intern knows that they are making a good decision. And so I gave that exam. I've given that to a couple of interns. And I just want to say that the intern from your program who took that exam before we accepted her on the diagnostic mock RD exam during orientation week, she passed it. She would, if she were taking the RD exam, she would be RD because that's how well she did. So I don't want students to be afraid when they have to do that. Like we talked about before, like Mindy mentioned, sometimes life gets in the way when you're trying to get your degree. So if your GPA is not what you think it should have been, you have other ways to demonstrate that you're a good candidate, and that is just one of them.
All right. Well, it's good to hear my gals are doing good.
They're great.
Robin and Mindy, give us one last take home to potential applicants.
Okay. A take home for us is, we're really proud of our partnership with Indori, and they're a great up and coming organization. And obesity and diabetes is, sort of a hot topic right now. Being able to be equipped to deal with that at the end of your internship, we think is going to be a very valuable asset. And so we're really happy about what we've developed in the partnerships and the faculty that we have in Debbie Colby from Indori. So, lots of programs have good emphasis, but we're really very proud of ours.
And I'd like to add to that we are also just very proud, and we just take a lot of pride in the support and accessibility that we give to our interns. I know from having been through a distance program how difficult it can be, and so we just really try to be there every step of the way for our interns, and we just take a lot of pride in that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with me on the podcast. And for those at home, if you would like more information on the Lagniappe Wellness Dietetic Internship, I've included the website, the program website, in the description below this video. And as always, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe so you never miss an episode with another dietetic internship.